My husband's best friend walked me down the aisle. Not my father, not my uncle, not any man from my family. Jay's college roommate, who I'd known for 3 years, who still called me the girlfriend as a joke even after we got engaged. He was the one standing next to me before those doors opened. He was the one who squeezed my hand and said, "You ready?" And I said yes, because what else do you say when the moment is already happening and the people who were supposed to be there aren't? I want to explain how we got there, but to do that, I have to go back much further than the wedding. I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, the oldest of two girls. My sister Leah is 4 years younger than me. When we were kids, the age gap felt enormous. She was in elementary school when I was starting middle school. She was learning to ride a bike when I was worrying about AP exams. But somehow, by the time we were both adults, those 4 years collapsed into nothing, and she was always just slightly ahead of where she was supposed to be. In the story my parents told about our family, Leah was the one who needed more. More time, more money, more attention, more grace. I was the one who could handle it. That was the phrase my mom used whenever she explained why things were distributed the way they were. You can handle it, honey. She said it when Leah got a car for her 16th birthday and I got a handshake and told to save up. She said it when Leah struggled through her freshman year of college and my parents flew out to visit her 3 weekends in a row. She said it when I graduated summa cum laude and my dad forgot to pick up the flowers he'd promised to bring. I can handle it. Okay. I went to Ohio State on a combination of scholarships, work study, and federal loans. I worked 20 hours a week at a campus coffee shop my first 2 years, then switched to a paid internship at an accounting firm junior year. I graduated with $31,000 in student loan debt and a job offer. I moved to Columbus. I built a life. My parents drove to Leah's college graduation in Lexington, took a full day off, booked a hotel for 2 nights, threw her a party at their house the weekend after. My graduation was on a Thursday. My dad said he couldn't get the day off work. My mom said the drive was too much for her back. I sat in that stadium with my roommate's family, and I smiled in every photo, and I did not call them that night. I told myself it was fine. People show love differently. They were proud of me, even if they didn't say it. I could handle it. I met Jay at a work conference in Cincinnati, 3 years after graduation. He was there representing his company. I was there representing mine. We ended up at the same table at the networking dinner, and he made me laugh so hard I almost choked on my breadstick. We exchanged numbers. He texted before I even got back to my hotel room. We dated long distance for 8 months. He was in Indianapolis, I was in Columbus, 2 hours apart, before he got a transfer offer and moved. He proposed 14 months after that, on a Sunday morning in our kitchen, which is not romantic in the conventional sense, but was exactly right for us. My parents like Jay. My dad shook his hand firmly and said he seemed like a solid guy. My mom asked about his family, his job, his plans. Leah texted me a string of heart emojis. For a few weeks, it felt like maybe things were shifting. Like maybe now that I had this good, solid, visible life, they would start to see me differently. We set the date for the following September. Small wedding, about 80 guests, at a vineyard outside Columbus. Jay handled most of the vendor coordination. He's better at logistics than I am. And I handled the guest list, the design, the invitations. I put my parents' names on the RSVP as a formality. Of course they were coming. Of course. My sister bought a house in April, 7 months before our wedding. It was a nice house. 3 bedrooms, good school district, in a suburb of Lexington. She and her boyfriend had been together for 5 years. The house made sense. My mom called me excited and said they were planning to drive down for the housewarming party in May. Road trip, she said. Weekend trip, she said. They were going to stay 4 days, help Leah unpack, meet the neighbors, christen the guest room. 4 days. I noted this quietly. I did not say anything. 2 weeks before our wedding, I called my mom to confirm final head count. She told me they were still planning on coming. She asked what time the ceremony started. She asked if there was parking. I gave her all the information. She said she was so excited. She said she couldn't believe her baby was getting married. Her baby. I am the older one. I let that go too. The week of the wedding, I texted both of them separately. My mom said she'd talk to me soon. My dad didn't respond. The night before the wedding, Jay's mom, who I had grown to love over the previous 2 years, a warm woman from Fort Wayne who always remembered what I'd told her last time we spoke, sat with me on the back porch of the venue's inn and talked to me for an hour. About marriage, about the long version of love, about the fact that she was so glad Jay had found me. She didn't know my parents hadn't shown up yet. I hadn't told anyone. The morning of the wedding, I had one missed call from my dad. No voicemail. I called back. He picked up on the third ring. He said there'd been a situation. He said my mom's knee had been bothering her, and the drive felt like too much, and they'd made the decision the night before not to come. He said they were sorry. He said they were sorry. He said they'd make it up to us. He said he knew this wasn't what I wanted to hear. I said okay. I said I appreciated him calling. I hung up. I sat in that room with my bridesmaids, my college roommate Priya, my coworker Dana, Jay's sister, and I did not cry. I did my makeup. I put on my dress. When Jay's roommate offered to walk me in, I said yes. I walked down that aisle looking straight ahead, and I found Jay's face, and I held on to it. My husband's best friend walked me down the aisle. 2 seats in the front row stayed empty the entire ceremony. The weeks after the wedding were strange. I kept waiting to feel something anger, grief, relief, something. Instead, I just felt numb and very, very tired. Jay knew. He didn't push me to process it on a schedule. He let me move through it at my own pace, which I think is one of the quieter forms of love. My mom sent a card 3 days after the wedding. She said the photos looked beautiful. She said she was so sorry they couldn't be there. She said she hoped I understood. I put the card in the drawer and did not respond. My dad texted 2 weeks later saying they wanted to do a belated celebration, maybe dinner when we were in Dayton for the holidays. I said we'd see. Here is the part I haven't told anyone except Jay. About a month after the wedding, I was going through some paperwork. I'm an accountant. I have a habit of organizing financial documents on Sunday afternoons, and I came across a folder Jay had labeled with my name. I almost left it, figured it was tax stuff he'd gathered. Then I noticed it wasn't his handwriting on the label. It was neater. Older. I opened it. Inside was a letter from an attorney, addressed to me, dated 18 months earlier. The letter explained that my maternal grandfather, my mom's dad, who had died when I was 22, had left a portion of his estate in a trust, specifically for me. Not split between me and Leah. For me. The letter explained that my grandfather had known, in some quiet way that grandparents sometimes know, that I was going to need to build my own foundation. The trust had been structured to release when I turned 28 and had been sitting in a managed account since his death. I turned 28 4 months before the wedding. I stared at the letter for a long time. Then I found Jay. He sat across from me at the kitchen table and told me the whole thing. His grandmother had been a close friend of my grandfather's. They'd known each other from the same church community in Indiana decades ago. When my grandfather's attorney reached out to locate me, they'd somehow found Jay first. Jay had been holding the folder, waiting for the right time. He said he was going to tell me before the wedding, but things moved fast, and then the wedding happened the way it happened, and he didn't want to complicate the grief with money right away. I was quiet for a long time. Then I asked how much. He told me. I sat back in my chair. It was enough to pay off every dollar of my student loans. It was enough for a down payment on a house. It was more than I'd made in the last 2 years combined. My grandfather, the man who used to take me fishing on Saturday mornings while Leah slept in, who taught me to keep my own savings account at age 10, who told me once that the greatest gift you can give a child is the expectation that they are capable, had seen me. Even after he was gone, he had seen me. I pressed my hands flat on the table to stop them from shaking. My parents called in November to confirm the holiday dinner plan. My mom mentioned casually that things had been tight lately. My dad's hours had been cut. She said she hoped I understood if they couldn't do gifts this year. She laughed a little as she said it, the way people laugh when they're actually asking for something. I told her I understood. I spent 2 days thinking about what to do. Not about the inheritance. I'd already decided what to do with that, about them. Here's what I want to say clearly, because I want to be honest about this. I'd been sending my parents $300 a month since I started my job out of college. Not because they asked at first, because I felt like I should, because I was the responsible one, the capable one, the one who could handle it. I set up the transfer automatically and it came out of my checking account every first of the month like a utility bill. They had never once asked if this was hard for me. They had never said thank you in a way that felt like they meant it. They had never, not once, asked whether Leah contributed anything. I called the bank and canceled the automatic transfer. Then I called the attorney from my grandfather's letter and began the process of accessing the trust. I paid off my student loans in one lump sum, all $31,000. I made the call on a Wednesday morning, and it felt like putting down something very heavy that I'd been carrying so long I'd stopped noticing the weight. Jay and I found a house in March, a 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood east of Columbus, close to good schools, close to a park. We put in an offer. It was accepted. We closed in April. I stood in the empty living room on the first day with the keys in my hand, and I thought about my grandfather. I thought about those Saturday mornings. I thought about him opening a savings account at a bank in Indiana, writing my name on a piece of paper, saying this is for her. Give it to her when she's ready. I cried in that empty room. The good kind. My parents found out about the house because I mentioned it. I didn't hide it. I called in April to tell them we'd bought a place and we were excited. There was a pause. My mom asked how we could afford it so soon after the wedding. I told her about the trust, about my grandfather's estate, about the account that had been waiting for me. Another pause. Longer. She said she hadn't known her father had done that. Her voice had something in it that I couldn't quite name. Not quite hurt, not quite angry. Something closer to the realization that she had misread something for a very long time. She said, "Why would he leave it just to you and not to Leah?" I said, "I think he knew what I was going to need." She didn't say anything for a moment. I didn't fill the silence. My dad called me 2 days later. He asked if there was any way to structure a loan. Not a gift, he said, a loan from the trust. He said things were tight. He said they could pay it back. I told him the trust was already fully dispersed. That was true. I told him I had canceled the monthly transfer because I needed to redirect those funds toward our mortgage. That was also true. He said he understood. He didn't sound like he understood. Leah texted me separately. She said she'd heard about the trust, and she wasn't upset. She just wanted to talk. We got on the phone. She said she thought it was a little strange that Grandpa had singled me out. I said I thought he'd made his reasons clear to anyone paying attention. She went quiet. Then she said softly, "I know things weren't always fair." That was the first time anyone in my family had said that out loud to me. Just those 5 words. I know things weren't always fair. I didn't need an apology. I didn't need a whole accounting of every imbalance from the last 20 years. Just that sentence. It loosened something in my chest that I'd been holding tight for a very long time. I told her I loved her. I meant it. Our relationship is still figuring itself out, but I think it has a chance. I want to tell you something about the scholarship. It was Jay's idea, originally. He mentioned it offhand one night, that a portion of the trust, even a small one, could be set up as a scholarship fund at Ohio State for first-generation college students. Students who were working their way through without family support. Students who could handle it. I submitted the application in June. The scholarship will be awarded for the first time next spring. The amount is modest, $2,500 per year, but it's a start. When I wrote the description for the scholarship committee, I said, for students who built their own foundation. My grandfather would have liked that, I think. I don't know what my relationship with my parents looks like from the outside. From the inside, it looks like this. I talk to my mom about once a week, shorter calls now, no automatic transfers, no pretending. My dad and I are still finding our footing. They did not come to our housewarming in May. I did not beg them to. My mother-in-law came and brought lasagna and helped me arrange the kitchen cabinets and told me 3 times that she loved the crown molding. I have stopped waiting for my parents to become different people. I have stopped arranging my life around a version of them that doesn't exist. That's not a dramatic declaration. It's just a quiet decision I made somewhere between canceling the bank transfer and signing the mortgage papers. The two seats at my wedding are still in my head. I think they always will be, but they don't define the day for me anymore. The day is Jay's face at the end of the aisle. It's Priya doing my mascara in the bridal suite and making me laugh. It's Jay's roommate squeezing my hand before those doors opened. My grandfather left me money, but what he really left me was the confirmation that someone had been paying attention all along. That someone saw who I was and what I was doing and thought, she's gonna be okay, but let me make sure. I keep that in my chest, next to the thing Leah loosened. I stand in my house, with my name on the deed, and I feel it. I can handle it. But now I know the difference between being capable and being taken for granted, and I will never confuse them again. I used to think being capable was a compliment. My parents said it like it was, you can handle it, honey. And for a long time, I carried it that way, like a badge, like proof that I was strong. It took me until my late 20s to understand that what they were really saying was, we don't need to show up for you. And I had been nodding along, agreeing with them for years. Here's what I know now: the way people treat you is a decision. It gets dressed up as circumstance, a bad knee, a long drive, a tight schedule. But underneath it is always a decision. My parents decided over and over, across 20 years, that Leah's milestones were worth the effort and mine were not. They drove 4 hours for her housewarming. They could not manage 2 hours for my wedding. That is not bad luck. That is a pattern. And patterns don't lie. What I've learned about cause and effect, the real version, not the soft one, is that it works quietly. You make small choices, and small choices stack. My parents made hundreds of small choices that told me I was second, and I made hundreds of small choices in response, taking out loans instead of asking for help, setting up that $300 automatic transfer every month, filling in every gap they left without ever naming it out loud. Neither of us ever had a real conversation about any of it. We just kept going, building the structure of a family that looked fine from the outside and felt hollow from the inside. My grandfather made different choices. He opened an account with my name on it and left instructions. He did not wait to see if I would ask. He did not make me prove I deserved it. He simply paid attention for 30 years and then acted on what he saw. That is what integrity actually looks like. Not a speech, not a grand gesture, but a quiet accumulation of choices made in the right direction. I think about Leah saying, I know things weren't always fair, and I think about how long it probably took her to say that. She grew up inside the same system I did, just on the other side of it. The favored child doesn't always know they're favored. Sometimes they just think that's how love works, that some people receive it more fully than others, and that's just the way things are. Unlearning that is its own kind of work. I respect that she's doing it, and I think about myself, standing in that empty living room with the keys in my hand. Everything I had built, the degree, the job, the marriage, the house, I had built by deciding again and again that I was worth building for. Not because anyone told me so, because I kept acting like it was true until it became true. That is what resilience actually is. Not toughness, not never hurting, just continuing to move in the direction of the life you want, even when the people who were supposed to cheer you on stayed home. I canceled the transfer. I signed the mortgage. I set up the scholarship. None of those things were revenge. They were just me, finally, making choices that matched what I believed about myself. The two seats stayed empty, and I filled the rest of my life anyway.